Good morning and afternoon and evening to everybody. Welcome to the July edition of the Digital Health Symposium, where we put together evidence and informatics to find out what kind of applications and implications are affecting patients, providers, payers, employers, life science, venture, multilateral agency, and others across the ecosystem in the world of digital health. My name is Stan Kachnowski. I'm the director of the digital health program at Columbia Business School Executive, and I am really excited to welcome everyone to today's Digital Health Symposium, your quick hitting and fast-tracked 3 hours of the latest digital health evidence and news that is affecting everybody across the world, especially during this absolutely brutal pandemic time. Thank you for joining us, and we're looking forward to an interactive session. The chat room and the text box is wide open for everybody to enter their LinkedIn information and network with each other, certainly ask questions. And our production team, led by our very own Justin Bulova and Jerry Antamano, along with Maddie Lazar and Kevin Stoll, as well as Jess Gem, will be working to take questions and post chat ideas and LinkedIn's of our speakers over the next 3 hours. So stay tuned and buckle up. We're gonna have a lot of fun today in going through a whole slew of exciting presentations and interviews. We're gonna lead off today with HitLab's own Paul Sonnier. We're excited to announce that Paul Sonnier has joined HitLab as a senior fellow. Paul is a multi-decade veteran of digital health, coming from the San Diego County ecosystem. And he's going to be talking with Victor Wang, the CEO of CareCoach, who won the HitLab AARP Social Connections Challenge earlier this month, to talk about what is happening within the H-Tech sphere. And we'll also talk to Nathan from Plug and Play, who heads up corporate innovation health there. And I'm really excited to hear from those two as a starting point. Hey, Victor. Victor's already joined us. Then we're going to go into an 11:30 interview with Michelle Odlum, who's an informatics professor at the School of Nursing at Columbia Medical Center, and talk a little bit about her research that she's done in social media and informatics, particularly in West Africa, around the pandemic and other types of epidemics that she's tracked over the last decade there. At 11:45 a.m. today, Eastern time, of course, we're going to talk to Victoria from Boehringer Ingelheim, and she leads up the health data science team there. And we're going to learn a little bit more about what the leading edge data scientists are doing in life sciences today, particularly given the multiple pandemics now we're fighting across, and the multiple viruses we're fighting across this pandemic. Top of the hour, we're going to jump into an interview with Blair Hurst, who's the CEO and founder of Digital Health Review. And we're going to really get some of the first run news in digital health and what's happening in digital health in the ecosystem from Blair. He covers that from his publication. And then at 12:15, we're lucky enough to have Olivier Robinschlag from Google. He's the head of creative at Google, a longtime collaborator both with HitLab and Columbia. Olivier is going to be interviewed by the CEO of the Merck Global Innovation Fund, Bill Toronto. And so we'll have a rare opportunity from two really extraordinary folks that are leading the digital health ecosystem, one from one of the big 5 tech companies on the West Coast, and another from one of the big 5 life science companies on the East Coast, and who helped, in terms of Bill Toronto, helped fund and then exit Livongo and Teladoc, and then also has done the same with Preventus the last few months as well. 12:30, we're going to hear from Madhuri Hegde, the VP and Chief Science Officer for Perkin Elmer. And Madhuri has been the center point for one of the world's leading lab companies and making sure that the lab services infrastructure around the world was not disrupted during the pandemic. And at 12:40, we're going to hear from one of the leaders at Johnson & Johnson, Carla Childers. She's a senior director of projects there in the Office of the Chief Medical Officer. And we'll talk to Carla a little bit more about how digital is playing a role in J&J's response to the pandemic as well. And at 1 p.m., we're excited to announce, of course, we've got the honor of hosting the Women's Health Tech Initiative at the HIT Lab, and the newest board member, Natalie Principe, is going to be joining us for an interview on Organon, and she is the head of digital health innovation at Organon, and she's going to be describing to us a little bit about what Organon is. In case you haven't heard about it, it's the recent spinoff from Merck, entailing all things women's health, and she'll talk a little bit about that and her role as the head of digital health innovation at Organon, and what some of her goals and objectives are with that newly formed and spun off IPO'd company last month. So we're very, very excited to host Natalie. And then we'll jump into a 1:15 with Don Jones, whom you know. He's a regular here at the Digital Health Symposium. Don, who is the co-founder of the Virtual First Medical Practice Collaborative with DIME, will then interview the leadership team of the Women's Health Tech Initiative, Natalie Principe, a board member, and then also Priscilla Beal, who's the chair of the Women's Health Tech Initiative and the head of global partnerships at Bayer Pharmaceuticals. We'll talk with Don for a while and really talk about what's happening in women's health and digital health, particularly during the pandemic, when we've seen just enormous tolls on women's health outcomes along the spectrum of everything from neonatal care and mental health and cancer and diabetes, heart disease. So we'll get into some details there with that panel. And then at 1:35, we're going to talk with Dr. Daniel Barron and Dr. Mike Aratow, and hear from Ellipsis Health and from Brigham Women's about what is happening today within the ecosystem around and really dial into the mental health aspect of the digital health ecosystem's response to the pandemic. And then finally, we'll wrap up at 1:55 and have a really nice synthesis and answer any leftover questions and remaining questions we have from you, the audience, and make sure that you're walking away with at least 3 new learnings. That's really our goal here at the symposium each month, is to make sure that the attendees learn 3 new things. And we have to do a special shout out to all of our sponsors. Again, none of this would be possible without our generous sponsors, including Epiture, Metadata, certainly Remember Stuff, Live Care, Medosity, Curio, Goodwin, and without a doubt the the good folks at HealthX Solutions. Without their financial support, these programs and others like them would not be available and not be accessible to you all, our audience, and we wouldn't be able to share some of the key lessons learned that we're seeing across the ecosystem in evidence and evidence generation during this pandemic.